everyone. Welcome back to Consider the Raving. Edit that. That's fine. Cut. Okay.
Consider the rabies.
Rabies. We all have rabies. Okay. Background. Okay. Everybody, straighten up. Be good. Okay. Welcome back to Consider the Ravens podcast. It is episode number 23. And today, we are interviewing your one and only, the maker of the podcast, your host. Everyone give it up for Nick Sterling! Woohoo!
Oh, man.
Tell him, how are you feeling today?
Fantastic. This is a lot of fun already, so.
Always.
I wish I was recording everything that happened before.
Very professional.
Would have been awesome.
Yeah. So, we're just going to go through a series of questions here. Okay.
If y'all don't remember, this is Hannah Savannah.
Hi. This is Nick Sterling.
Y'all better remember. They're the most iconic episode. Y'all can't forget.
We could not go without interviewing the host himself, though. I'm sure there are questions out there, so yeah.
This was their idea, I promise. I did not ask them to do this.
It was all our idea.
We're not dragged.
We dragged him.
Probably.
Okay, so why don't we jump into the first question?
What y'all got?
Yeah. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm your host, Nick Sterling. This is, like they said, episode number 23. I just looked in this cup to see if there's anything in it. Obviously not.
That's going to be a great sound effect.
Yeah, that's going to be hilarious, though.
Okay, anyway, so first question.
Okay.
Sorry, listeners.
What is your story behind the podcast?
Ooh.
Inspirations? The reason you want to start.
I took the name from Luke 12:24, where it says, let's see if I can remember this correctly. Consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap. They neither have storehouse nor barn, I think. But yet God still feeds them. How much more value are you than the birds? So I was brainstorming for like a week on names. My favorite one was Kingdom Conversations. But of course I looked it up and that was already a podcast, which obviously who wouldn't just take that name and run with it? And there is another podcast with Consider the Ravens name, but when I started, they hadn't posted in like 3 years. So I was like, okay, once I post a couple, people will find me instead of them. And then they started posting about the same time, and I was like,
oh, that's great.
Wow. And then I tried to do an Instagram. I've done like 5 posts on there, and I haven't since. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. But, so I wanted to take that idea of how much more value are we than the birds, and the birds are taken care of, and kind of implement into getting to know everyone who serves at the church, maybe not like on the forefront where everybody sees what they're doing, and talk to them to see what they do, where they've come from, and how they've gotten to where they are, because everyone has a story, not just the people that are on the platform.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing, and I hope I can continue to do that. Now, of course, I will get some from the platform because they do have stories, and not everyone knows it. Just because they're up there every week or whatever doesn't mean people know their story. A lot of people have some assumptions and presumptions about our speakers and other churches' speakers, but they have no idea what they've been through. So I want to do that more of that. I was talking with Nathan after we recorded last week, and he suggested, and I think it's a great idea, that I start branching out and trying to get people from other churches as well.
Yeah.
So I could get some people from like Desperations College, or I guess the people who went through their college before they maneuvered out of it, like we're doing now.
Right.
Because I know some of them. Now I know I can't swing like head pastors yet because they're already super busy with the church, and when they're not busy with the church, they're obviously going to spend that time with their family. So, but like I said, people who serve behind the scenes, like Nathan and all the other ones that I've had on, it'd be pretty easy to get them in. They seem pretty excited about talking about their story, so I hope I can find more people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And on the topic of church, what brought you to Daystar?
Ooh, so I grew up why I didn't grow up. But when I started going to church regularly, it was at a Southern Baptist church in Hanceville, about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes from here, called Hanceville First Baptist. And in 2013, I got saved and baptized the first time. And I, just like every other Baptist that doesn't know much, hated Daystar. Because I thought that they were nothing but a bunch of money-hungry people who didn't preach true gospel. And one time our youth went to an event here. I think they had Elevation or something like that. They had a big name worship people here. So I came to that with the youth group. And they had Starbucks in the lobby, and that just ramped it up. I was like, "Yep, this place sucks. I'm never coming here. What they teach is wrong." Blah blah blah. Typical Baptist, right? And it still happens to this day. Not for me, but other people who grew up Baptist and don't really branch out from that. And then I went through a whole fiasco where I left the church and left my friends and left my family. And in that time, the person that I was with brought me here, and I was a little skeptical about it. But when I came here, they had no more Starbucks. They had their own coffee. So that told me that they got rid of Starbucks once they started to be a little unethical, according to biblical standards. Mm-hmm. And then I met Pastor Derek and all the college students that were here at the time, Big Red and all that. And I was like, okay, these people are freaking awesome. Yeah. And I attended a couple services, and I was like, okay, so PJ does preach the Bible accurately. So everything that I thought before crashed and burned. Fell in love with the church, fell in love with the people, and I started connecting again, like I was at Hanceville. And the person I was with seen that, didn't like it, because every time I walked into the church, "What's up, Nick? How you doing, man? Miss you, bro." But nobody would say much to her. There was a reason for that. Yeah. She wasn't the nicest person, or the realist, I guess. So she took me out again. And I think that was 2018. And then 3 years later, 2021, excuse me, that ended. I moved back home, and I had nowhere else to go. No life, really. In 2021, I was going to work for the city of Coleman, coming home, getting on the video game for about 9 to 13 hours every day. And the only friends I had was the one I lived with and my family online. That's it. I didn't interact with anybody. I didn't go anywhere or do anything. I had no ambitions. Had no means of what I wanted to do, no goals, and no way to find them or reach them if I had any. And I came to church a couple of times here in person, but I was mainly online because I didn't know how to talk to people. I would go in 8:30. Watch the service, and dip out immediately. Wouldn't even say hey or bye to anybody. Complete contrast to what I am now, and that is all because of Daystar. One day, Pastor Derek, I tried to go to the college in 2018, but it didn't work out because of everything that happened. He called me, asked me if I was still interested in going to college, and so we started the process again. And on August, I think it was 24th or 22nd, on a Thursday afternoon, he called me. He said, "Hey, man, we got a place for you if you want to start on Monday." I was planning on going in January. I talked to my boss. I was like, "I'm going to go part-time next year, go into college, whatever." He called me and was like, "Hey, if you want to start Monday, you can. There's definitely a spot for you here." So that told me something's putting on his heart to really get me there this semester, because it doesn't mean anything to the college or to them personally, whether I'm there now or in 4 months, right? It doesn't affect them at all. So I prayed about it, and that Saturday I texted my boss, and I said, "Hey, I'm not coming to work on Monday. I'm going to college, so sorry about it." And they tried to call me and whatnot, didn't answer. That was the end of it. Mm-hmm. I went in Monday. Everybody else already enrolled in classes. They're doing schoolwork. I'm talking to financial aid, trying to see if I can even get into classes, because if you don't get in with the first week or two, they cut you off and you're not allowed to register. So I was really scrambling every day, talking multiple phone calls and emails, trying to get in there. And I did. I was so shut off. I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and I just knew that I needed a drastic change immediately, or I was going to go nowhere. And it was in that moment, because I knew if I waited till January, it was not going to be the same. I was probably going to put it off again, right? Because I was comfortable in the money. I was comfortable not having any responsibilities other than bills. Wasn't a big deal. I didn't have a hard job. I literally drove a truck with a inmate and let him get out and pick up trash while I watched him. That's what I did, 8 hours every day. It was a cakewalk. And sometimes we'd just sit there and look at the Lake George for like 2 hours and just chill out and talk. You know, it's the easiest job I ever had. It did not constitute any ambition. There was no reason for it because I was told I'd be there for the rest of my life if I stayed. There was no working up or anything. So that's what brought me to Daystar was I needed a purpose, and I started to seek it, and I found it here. And I just couldn't talk to anybody. We'd have flex time, which was either do schoolwork or chill out, and I didn't have schoolwork. So I would go in the corner. We had one of those little basketball things where you shoot it and it lands in the net and falls back to you. Mm-hmm. And I would just be over there shooting by myself. Everybody else would be mingling. And my goal, he had us write out a goal. He said, I need you, what do you want to do in the next year? I said, I want to fix my charisma, fix the way that I carry myself and the way that I talk to people. Because I didn't have any of that. I didn't talk to people, didn't know how. I got scared every time. Physically started shaking anytime I got into a conversation. Because I knew that if it was up to me to continue it without any prompt, nothing was coming out. Which is why sometimes today, even today, I still feel afraid of getting in conversations like that. Because there was a long point in time in my life where I could not add any substance. So, but Daystar College brought me out of all of that. It took them a while. It took a couple of times of them inviting me to places and me declining. One time they called me. They said, hey, why aren't you here? I said, I didn't think it would be like I didn't. They were like, why aren't you here? I was like, I didn't think I would add anything to the conversation or bring anything to the table. They were like, shut up, that's stupid. They said that. That's what they said, exact words. They said, shut up, that's stupid. Like, we wanted you here. We were looking forward to having you here. I was like, okay, so these people actually care about me. So that right there was the start of me branching out and getting into my comfort zone so I could get out of my construct of life that I had, this little bitty box I put myself in. And now all of that's shattered, and I do what I can now.
Yeah.
That was my question, so now it's your turn.
Do you have, I know it's a typical question, but a story of salvation when you first gave it to God?
Yeah, so my dad had always, I say always, a lot of times read the children's Bible to me and my brother when we were growing up at night, and we'd prayed and whatnot. And every once in a blue moon, we'd go to church with my cousins, but there was no real foundation there, and no real guidance in a Christian home. But I've always been around that. But as soon as I was given the opportunity to have friends, let's say around 3rd or 4th grade, when my mind was like, oh, these people are cool, and they just took me away from everything good. And I said my first curse word when I was in the 4th grade. I got paid like $5 for it. Yeah, and that, then I thought I was so cool, so downhill from there. And then in 10th grade, 2013, I was invited to Ansel First Baptist for the first time by a guy named Brandon Brown. And he was just super, like, fitness nut. He was just a little bit egotistical. So he did fitness so that people would look at him. You know, right. He did it for the attention. Right. So he would do handstands randomly and just walk around on his hands. So we were hanging out at his house waiting for the church bus. Man, I missed the church bus days. And because I was 14 at the time when he invited me. So I didn't have a license, obviously, or permit, so I couldn't drive anywhere. Didn't even have a vehicle. I was riding my bike everywhere at the time. The bus pulls up. They slide that iconic door open. And I look up, and I see like 4 or 5 other people that I knew. And I was like, so this is going to be really fun. This is a Wednesday night youth group. Back when It was still called youth. I hop in the van. They're like, "What are you doing here? What the heck?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. Brandon invited me." And they were like, "What? Brandon bring people to church?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know, man." So we went, and I met the youth pastor named Clay Tankersley. And some people on here know Clay Tankersley. He was a really big influence at Good Hope for a while, too. He's a really big, tough guy. He helps with football and all that. I think he's in Falkville now. Maybe. I hope I'm right. I met him. Really cool guy. Bald, fantastic beard. Right? That's fantastic beard. Just the life of every room that he walked into. And he talked to me for a while. He was like I had been best friends with him forever. It was great. Just the connection was immediate. And turns out that they cooked little meals for everybody every Wednesday before church started. Oh, wow. And I was like, that's awesome. Yeah. So I went to the fellowship hall, and they had a little meal, had a little kitchen back there with the roll-up door, just like we do here. Actually, there was probably no roll-up door. It was just an open window deal. They cooked, all the elderly and elders of the church. I was young. I don't know if they were elders or not, but they were wives of people in the church,
older
like deacons and stuff. And they were rather older than I was. It was a Baptist church, you could imagine. Yeah. But they were fantastic women, and they were just so on fire. So one of them passed away like a year or two ago, and they have a park bench cemented into the ground out front, and it says, "In memory of Teresa." And I was like, that makes me so happy and sad at the same time, you know. But we went upstairs, went to the little room. It was actually a room smaller than this one that we're in right now, with some little plastic chairs and a ping pong table in the back, and a little bitty TV like that big on the wall with one speaker in the corner. They threw on some music, they turned the lights down, and we worshiped. We did like 2 worship songs, 2 or 3. It was always like one to get you pumped up, and one to break you down. Yeah. And then one song for the prayer after you get broken down. So typical one was "I Surrender" by Hillsong. It was like the 10-minute version. Just enough time to get a good cry in, right? Yeah. A fantastic song, though. And then we'd go into the message and end it with worship and just play around for a while. But doing that for a good minute, they had what they called a Jericho project. And to this day, I have no idea what it was or why it was called the Jericho Project. But we had it behind my high school in a field that we called the jungle, even though it was open field. Don't know why. But they pulled up a semi-truck flat trailer, and they had a rock wall, which was interesting, and then a tent with a bunch of hot dogs. It was my first time rolling hot dogs for an event at church.
Hey, got to start somewhere.
Yeah, hey, it gave me a good experience because Kid Fest this year, I rolled up 1,000 hot dogs. So it was like, hey, I've been here before. Yeah. But at that moment, I'd never really thought, hey, I need to be saved. Because I've been going to church for a while, every Wednesday, every Sunday morning, and Sunday night. It was great. You know, I was all for it. I had my Bible, everything like that. And then Philip Wigley, the pastor, did the salvation call. And I was like, something in my heart was just like, hey, man, you need to do this. And I was like, okay. Never really thought about it. Not entirely sure what it is, but I feel like it's important. So I raised my hand, I looked up, and then Clay Tankersley, with open arms and a smile bigger than I'd ever seen, welcomed me in and did a salvation prayer. He about choked me to death with how hard he was hugging me during that prayer. He was just so happy. But that's... Oh, I skipped over a massively important part. the biggest part. Rewind. So that week, around that time, there was a game called BioShock and BioShock Infinite, okay? That game was super big, and I was trying to play through the first ones because the third one, Infinite, was coming out. Oddly enough, I never finished those 2, and I still have never played Infinite. And that was 11 years ago. So, anyways, I had a dream, and in the dream, I was in one of the houses. Yeah, I think that was in the first one. Everything was dark and decrepit and just broken. There were shelves on the floor. Cabinets had been ripped off the wall on the ground. And everything was just black. There was water up to the knees, pitch black, and I was looking for something. I have no idea what I was looking for, but in my dream I was just picking up everything, throwing it, looking down in the water, looking in the walls, around every crevice. And then I look down, I move like a cabinet or a dresser or something that's been thrown on, move it, and there's just this bright light in the water. I'm like, that's what I'm looking for. Dove down. Okay, it was knee deep. Now I'm completely submerged in this pitch black water. And I'm just frantically trying to get to it. And I get to it, and it's this bright light that looks like a face. And when I found that it was like peace, I was no longer anxious about finding anything. Like I had everything I needed. And then I woke up, and I was like, that was weird. That weekend, salvation prayer.
That's deep.
The next year, Heaven is for Real came out. And at the end of that movie, there's a little girl. So, basic part of the movie, the guy or the kid dies, goes to heaven, is led around by Jesus to see people, comes back to life, right? The kid's like, I seen Jesus, whatever. That was or no, he didn't say I seen Jesus. He was like, there was a man, very nice. He held my hand, took me around, whatever. At the end of the movie, there was this little girl painting, because she had a similar experience, but she was
True
painting.
story, by the way.
Yes, true story. And she was painting the face of Jesus. And the little kid was like, that's the face of the man that I seen in my dream. So basically the kid had seen Jesus, and Jesus had walked him around, held his hand, and comforted him. That face was the same face that I seen in my dream. And that was a year before I'd seen that face.
That's crazy.
So when I seen that, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on. Jesus, what is happening right now? So that was incredible. Now, of course, I'd been saved for a year at that moment, but it was just a really cool callback in my life,
Yeah.
So, yeah. I didn't mean that was a crucial part of that whole salvation story, and I just skipped right over it. So that's it. That's my original salvation story.
That is amazing. The dream to me, when you were in the dark place, sounded like your soul and your heart searching for something panically. Because when you're not saved, you're searching for that peace, you're searching for that joy, and you're just trying to find rest in anything you can, in anything possible. And there's no peace but Jesus. Yep. And then once you find that, the amount of overwhelming peace and joy is amazing.
It was definitely unlike anything I'd ever felt before and since. Now, of course, every once in a while I'll get that same peace once I'm able to get myself fully immersed and focused on His presence, like at a worship night, or maybe during prayer time here or something like that, or sometimes while I'm driving and I'll just have something playing, or sometimes I'll just drive in silence and I'll pray and something will hit, and I'll just start weeping and praying and being just really happy. And it scares me sometimes because I'm driving, right? So.
I get it. Oh yeah.
But it's always fun. It's always fun.
Okay, so next question. What is your goal for this podcast, and what is your goal for people to take from this podcast?
That's something that I don't think about often. Oftentimes, my ideas and stuff, I'm like, oh, that'd be cool, and then I do it. And so I've been trying to think of long-term goals for this. And of course, if you start a podcast, you want it to be big. So you want to get the subscribers, you want to get the followers, the listeners, whatever. And you want to get big name, like interviewers or guests, that's what they're called. And you want to be known. But when people watch this podcast, I want them to know that generally speaking, now of course not every episode is going to be the same, but generally speaking, from the whole of the podcast, from the beginning to however far it goes, I want them to get that it doesn't matter who they are or what they've been through or where they're at in life at the moment. They always have a story, and even if they're going through the worst times of their life right now, or in the moment that they're watching or find out about this podcast, that what they're going through right now could be a testimony in the future if they can really not let it drag them down and keep them there,
Absolutely.
then it can be a testimony. Sometimes we can make our own testimonies by recognizing that we're in a bad spot and then just trusting in God in the middle of it.
And joy is a choice.
Joy is a choice. So is sadness and anger. And
yeah.
it's like I could mope around all day if I wanted to and focus on everything that sucks, because in this world there's plenty of it. But that's dumb. Like, why would I do that? I don't see, like, obviously I'm an optimistic, and people who are optimistic, it's easy for them to just choose happiness. But if you're naturally pessimistic, I say naturally, you've chosen pessimism enough to where you think it is your default.
Mm-hmm.
You've made it your default. You can change that just by doing it. And I know it's like, it's not the same thing as anxiety. I can't just be like, well, just don't be anxious. That's different. But you can just not be sad. You can just not be angry. It's just how you're looking at it and how you recognize kind of the situation that you're in. Those are things that you can just not be.
And in an argument, you can choose to bite your tongue.
Yes, because what the heck does it matter whether or not you win an argument?
I mean, it's not always going to be easy, but
Yeah.
And you might slip up.
it will be worth it, though. It really will.
Yeah, so if you're on a streak of like trying to win or trying to step back in arguments, or if you're on a streak of trying not to, I don't know, respond to hate speech or crap talking or whatever, and then at one time you just react back in anger or respond to whatever they're saying about you, it's not the end of the world. You can start back over and be like, okay, I'm stepping back now. Sorry for what I said. And that sorry is going to be the hardest apology of your life.
Yes.
I promise.
So weighted.
Okay. Because, like, yeah, you can just be like, okay, I'm stepping back now. I'm going to leave what I said there. That's not enough.
The apology is so needed.
It's so needed.
There's gray ground there.
You got to drag it out of you.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry for what I said.
You can yell later by yourself.
You don't actually have to be sorry, okay? Just say, I'm sorry for what I said.
And you'll be sorry later.
Yeah. Eventually, you'll be like,
It's part of it.
like, after everything's calmed down, your mind will go back to normal, and you'll be like, maybe I am sorry for what I said. Then you have to go back and apologize hours or days later, and it's even worse doing that.
I feel like...
Because
Yeah.
you've lived through the consequences of what you
And
said.
you're like, no, we're over that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
it's not over.
it's not over. You
I feel
have
like
to apologize.
The first time you're apologizing to God, though.
Yes, because it's not when you're yelling at people and you're cussing them out or you're insulting them. They are a child of God, whether they believe it or not.
Yeah.
So how you treat them is very important, and how you treat yourself is very important. You're insulting someone who God created just as He created you. So it's bad.
Yeah, and I think a thing to keep in mind is what you said to them and the argument that y'all had could impact their life forever.
Yep.
I mean, it could have a serious impact on their emotions and their feelings or what they think. It changes a lot in somebody when you say stuff. Whether they believe it or not, it stays in your head when somebody says something about you.
Yep. I've, since coming here in 2021, wow, this month is 3 years since I've been baptized. Here.
Bravo! Everybody, applause.
That's awesome. Applause.
Applause.
And anyways, besides the point, 3 years coming here, I've recognized some things that I've let people say to me while I was out of church. I've realized how bad of a mindset that they gave me, and there's actual trauma there that I didn't realize. I hate saying that I was traumatized by things because I don't want people to be like, oh, he needs sympathy or whatever.
Bless your heart.
Bless your heart. You know what I mean? I don't want that, but it has a real impact on your mindset. So if you recognize something, you don't have to be like, oh, this was traumatizing. Just to yourself, realize, hey, this really messed me up, and that has caused me to have this bad habit or this bad thought about doing something. Like, you have to recognize what you say can do the same thing to others. If you think back to something your parents said or or something, a bully, whatever teacher said to you, and you're like, man, that messed me up for a while, so I was a rebel. It's the same thing when you say that to others. You're causing them to have some trauma.
And that is another thing. The people that did say those things to you, the only one getting hurt by not forgiving them is you. You have
Facts.
to forgive them.
Facts.
Because they probably don't even remember that conversation, honestly, because it didn't
Yeah.
hurt them.
Yeah.
But you have to forgive for your sake, if not, you know.
I had so the one person I was with that took me away from everything. We were signing up for something in a big place in Jacksonville. It was a new complex. It had swimming, basketball, rock climbing, fantastic place. I loved it. But we were signing up, so we're in a little office, like it was all glass around us. Obviously, there's like 15 other people also signing up. So when one person's doing it, there's only one desk in there. Very quiet place. Shut off. So any words said above a whisper, it's like everyone is in the conversation, right? I looked over, I said, ooh, there's a pool. And it's probably heated because it's inside, so I was like, hey, we can go swimming even in the winter. That's cool.
And then everybody goes,
Yeah, and everybody's like,
A pool?
there is a pool. And then she goes, if you take your shirt off in public, I'm walking away and acting like I don't need you or don't know you. And I said, And everybody looks at me now.
what in the world?
For 3 years, and even to this day, I have a pool in my backyard and a jacuzzi. Last year was the first time I've swam, period. But even in those in my backyard, since that was said to me.
I could cry.
And I didn't realize it until I got in the pool with my
No, right.
friends. And I was like, this is the first time I've swam in like 3 or 4 years. Well, it was 4 years since I swam. 3 years since I'd had one in my backyard. And they were like, why? And I was like, I don't know. Wait a second.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even though I didn't realize the trauma had caused me so much, the words had caused me so much trauma, they did. And then when I recognized that, I was able, now every time my friends come over, I will swim with them. But it's still difficult for me to swim in general because it's something I didn't do for so long. I can't get myself to be like, that's enjoyable. Just do it, you know. But when people's around, I can swim and get in the hot tub. I've been in the hot tub twice in the last 3 years, and it's only been when friends are there to enjoy the hot tub with me. So that it really matters. Someone this Sunday, just a difference in mindset, just like a comparison. Someone last Sunday, someone I've known for 15 years or 12 years, something like that, came up to me and was like, hey man, how you doing? I said, good, it's good to see you, man. It's an older gentleman. Someone I graduated with's dad or stepdad or whatever. He goes, so you just been hitting the gym a lot or eating too much food? And I said,
Excuse me?
a little bit of both, honestly. And he said, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. And we moved on.
No.
So, 3 years ago, that would have screwed me up. And I probably would have retaliated with something, you know. But it took me back. I was like, and then I answered, you know. It's
I got a good thing for all of you. My good old daddy taught me this.
good old daddy. Okay.
My good old daddy taught me this, all right? You got nothing not to say? Shut up. If you have nothing nice to say, shut up. Don't open your mouth. Got nothing nice to say? Don't say anything. Just be like, good day to you.
Good day to you.
Come on, people. Act your age.
Be nice, though. Kindness.
Anyways, that's the mindset difference. I chose to be happy. I barely see that man anymore, and why would I let that affect me that much, you know? I know where I've been. Back when that girl said what she said, I was 300 pounds. That was 2020. I was, 300, 320, somewhere around there. I'm down 80 pounds from that. Yeah, it's taken me a long time, but that's because I suck at time management. But that's okay.
It's not easy.
Yeah. But we've come a long way regardless, okay? I could have gone a lot longer way. Time management is a different monster. That's difficult that is a difficult hill to climb, I promise. But, yeah, it's no big deal anymore. Think about that.
Yeah.
And I can promise you, everyone in this world has had something that they are self-conscious about, whether they've overcome it or they're still insecure about it.
Yes.
And another thing I say is don't let anyone tell you that your confidence is ego, but don't let your confidence turn into ego.
There is a thin line.
Your
Be
job
careful.
is to make sure your confidence don't turn into ego, but don't let anybody tell you you shouldn't be confident.
Right.
Confidence is not a bad thing.
You can be humble and confident.
Yes.
Just catch yourself sliding.
You be very careful. The moment the ego comes out, you have to nip it right there.
Because it's easy to get ego.
Yeah.
So just if you do something really cool, or if you do something really well,
Something you're proud of.
just do it, right? And walk off. Don't be like, you see what I did? That
Like
was really
strut
cool.
away.
Well,
You know, just be like, I did this.
Yeah.
It's okay. Walk, and someone's like, hey, you did a good job. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You should be proud within yourself.
Yeah.
You should be
Because everything that you do,
happy for yourself.
Scripture says, whatever you do, do it as if you're doing it for the Lord.
Because he
So
does
everything,
see you. And I mean,
yeah, everything should be done to
Definitely.
your 100% best, whether it is something you're already good at or not. Your best is your best regardless.
And you can always give praise to God in most things that, like, people's like, oh, you know, that was a great word, you know, you really knew what you were doing, and so on and so forth. But it was a word from God.
Yep.
And good for them for listening, you know, of course, but God was using that person. So the praise goes to the Lord.
Yes, absolutely.
I took the long way around on that. It's like really choppy, and it's like you're waiting, and
There
got
it
it
is.
now.
Yeah.
There it is. There
That's
it
what she's
is.
saying. Okay, gotcha. That's all
question.
good.
Which phone?
Yeah, I made a list actually.
Oh, nice, cool.
Now go text.
That's more than what I do.
That's me, man.
You're more prepared for this than I am, and I've done this 22 times.
We had to make an impression, you know.
yeah.
Since we're the
That's
one-time
the
hosts.
takeover hosts.
Yeah.
What are some passions you have outside of the podcast?
Ooh.
Yeah.
They call me the jack of all trades. I almost forgot what it was.
Not very
a
often,
bit of,
do they?
bit of a pause there. No one calls me that. So I like playing disc golf a lot. I'm a very competitive person, but also like to have a good time while I'm being competitive. So basketball and disc golf, pickleball, those are the three main sports that I love to watch and participate in. I also do a lot of gaming, and I stream those games on primarily TikTok now. I used to do YouTube and Twitch too, but they were costing me $19 a month
Really?
to stream to that. So I was like, you know what? I don't ever make any money. I've made more money on the 3 months I've been on TikTok than I have on the 5 years I've been on YouTube and Twitch. So I stopped streaming there. Now it's just primarily TikTok. And that, of course, is linked in every video. It's in the description, every one of them, because I put everything that I do down there, all the discounts, everything. So, like with merch and stuff that I have discounts with. They're not big, but it's something, you know. But, so streaming and just making videos, content creation in general is just a lot of fun to me.
Yeah.
That's why I bought this camera. Sometimes I use it to film disc golf stuff. Sometimes I just do random things. Also, every Saturday from 4 to 8 p.m. I play D&D. Sometimes it goes a little bit longer. Sometimes 9 and 10 o'clock, which is crazy. But once you get lost in what you're doing, combat or the story or something really cool is happening, you just lose all sense of time, really, because you're just sitting in that room. You're rolling dice. You're trying to do epic things. You're failing. You're succeeding. It's just really cool. So it's really big with what they call, what I've heard recently, theater of the mind. So it's like there's nothing going on in front of you. Maybe like a rollout map and some little plastic figurines. But there's no video, like you're not pressing buttons or on anything. Of course, they have a website to keep up with all of your stats, which is so much stuff. But let's see. So pickleball, basketball. I like playing cornhole, but I don't do it that much anymore. reading is something I've loved my whole life. But again, I'm so bad at time management that I don't give myself any time for it. I've been trying to get through Mere Christianity for months now. Some people will say even when you're reading it regularly, it's difficult to get through that book. I would agree. It's a very philosophical, very deep kind of, if you're not understanding it, you might need to read a couple paragraphs more than once. But I love a good love story.
Yeah.
So something that will break my heart and, like The Fault in Our Stars, like all John Green books.
Like a roller coaster.
Yeah, like all John Green books, The Fault in Our Stars, Where's Alaska? Finding Alaska? Looking for Alaska, that's what it is. Paper Towns, like all of those, cried, was happy. I've tried to read a couple Colleen Hoover books. She's really big right now. Great books. It's difficult for me as a Christian to read those books and be okay with it, because there's a lot of explicit scenes in those books, and I'm like trying to drag myself through that, and I'm like, if I have to drag myself through this just to get to the good parts, like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It took me like 4 months to get through the last one that I read, because I couldn't pick it up and be like, okay, I'm about to read this. I know what's about to happen. I couldn't do it. I've got 2 more on myself right now that I want to read. Probably not gonna.
It's also probably not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. I mean, they're giving you a little taste here, a little taste there, and I mean...
Oh, it always gets worse.
It builds in your mind, if anything.
Yes, it always gets worse. So I put those books down. I don't read those anymore. Because there's plenty of books like that don't have that in it. So I'm good with those. But I love, and the same with TV shows and movies and stuff. Just there's an anime show. It's like 12 episodes on Netflix called Your Lie in April. I've watched that 3 times because I've never cried so hard because of a TV show than I have for that. And it's all about piano and playing classical music, and I love playing the piano. It's another passion. If I enjoy it, I consider it a passion, and I try to learn everything I can about it, Like disc golf, I bought 2 discs. My friends wanted to play, and they took me a couple times, and I fell in love. Now I've played in tournaments. I've won some money doing it. I have a whole bag. It's a whole thing now.
Round of applause.
Yeah. So, I'm sure there are more that I'm missing, but maybe I'll remember them later.
I've been trying to think of a question, and I didn't.
Oh, ministry.
Oh, yes.
I love ministry. That is definitely a passion. I can't skip over ministry. I do consider this a part of my ministry. The goal at the beginning when I first started getting in ministry was to plant a church and call it Netcaster Church. Well, when I first started, it was The Way Ministries, because in the Bible, that's what they referred to the disciples as followers of the Way. So before it was Christianity, it was The Way, which was just the way that Jesus was teaching, because Jesus was the way, the truth, the life, whatever. Anyways, so it was The Way Ministries, which is going to be an online. Actually, on my main YouTube, there's a ton of videos from when I would do a message every Sunday for The Way Ministries. Now, I haven't gone back and looked at them. I'm afraid to, because they're probably so cringe. They're probably not that great, but I don't know. It was back in when I wasn't necessarily going to church. I was watching some online, but I was not living the life that a pastor should live. So that's why I say they're probably not that good. But God can use anybody, so maybe some of them are. I don't know. And then even my parents got me a front license plate that said The Way Ministries on there, and I feel bad now, because now I don't want it The Way Ministries. I want it Netcaster, but it's okay.
So you threw it away?
No, it's on my shelf. I was talking to my people when I was live streaming today. They were kind of asking me what I did at church, and I told them, and then I told them a little bit about what I wanted to do. I'm leaning less towards planting a church now. and more towards just because planting a church is like a 5, 10, 15-year goal, right? That's something I need to work up to a lot. No longer really worried about that. Now I'm worried about each step that I take every day. So it's more of a, what am I going to do today or next week or maybe next month at the most, you know?
Yeah, because each day can be a ministry.
Exactly. And I don't know if I'm going to have tomorrow. So I don't know if I'm going to have 5, 10, 15 years.
But he is.
Lord willing, unless Jesus comes back, that would be even better. So that being said, I've been given this opportunity to live stream and have a community. I have people that I started a Discord that people get in there, and I have a spot where we can put our testimonies and kind of like scripture, what we want to do, whatever. So I have an opportunity now to have a ministry online, and every time I go live, in the title is "Ask Me About Jesus" or "Jesus is King," just to provoke a conversation. And oftentimes I get a conversation out of it. Sometimes it's, people that aren't Christians trying to troll, but we still have decent conversations. One time a guy came in there and tried to start an argument and didn't listen to anything that I was trying to say. So sometimes you get those people who aren't actually trying to have a real conversation, but they're just trying to bash you. Mm-hmm. You just got to be like, you know what, these are the facts. If you don't want to hear it, that's on you. So...
Because most of the time, those people already have their mindset.
Yeah.
And they're not having an argument about who's right. They're telling you what's right.
Exactly. But if you say, like, they come at you with there's no evidence or what evidence outside of Scripture do we have, then you say, this is the evidence and this is what we have outside of Scripture. You've planted the seed of here's the actual facts that people who are not Christian accept as facts. That's a whole different conversation that doesn't make sense to me, but it's fine. But there are many historians and whatnot that prove that Jesus was at least a guy that was alive. And some people don't even accept that. So if that's the case, I don't even have conversations with them. If they don't accept that Jesus was a person that was alive, period, then I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do for you, because that is a known fact and you're just ignoring it. So you plant the seed. You're like, here's the facts. They're like, whatever, dude. But now it's in their head. So maybe along the line something else will happen and they'll come to Jesus. Mm-hmm. It's not our job to convert everyone. It's our job to plant the seed. We tell people about Jesus. We don't save them. That's mm-hmm. not us.
If Jesus was not here to condemn the world, then why are we?
Exactly.
We're here. We're still here when we get saved to love.
Yes.
And to show people the love of mm-hmm. Christ.
Mm-hmm.
But what you were saying took me back to what Pastor Jerry was talking about this week in Sunday service. He was talking about how one of the smartest lawyers, mm-hmm. he was what was he? Atheist? It's not atheist, it's...
agnostic?
I don't know, whatever he was. But he wasn't Christian. Anyway, I don't remember his name. It was like Saint something. Go back and look. But anyway, he was really smart, and he won like 27 murder cases. And somebody said that I would like for the smartest lawyer to check the evidence of Christ and, check the evidence on that. Whatever, I'm not good at this. And so he did. He checked the evidence of Christ and all that good stuff. And I can't quote his exact words because he used big ones, but he said that
it's facts.
The facts of Christ, it leaves no doubt that he was not real, and he is a Christian now.
That's pretty cool. So that reminds me of a book that I have at home. I haven't read yet. Big book.
Oh.
Thick.
I'm not a reader.
It's having a stroke here. It's called Evidence That Demands a Verdict. And the guy that wrote it was an atheist trying to write a book about how Jesus isn't real and how Christianity and the Bible are, fake and just false. So he was trying to find all the evidence to demand a verdict of that being fake and untrue. Well, turns out he proved the opposite. He he found a lot of evidence proving the Bible and proving the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. And it demanded a verdict of this is real. So now he's a Christian, and that is no longer an atheist book. It is a Christian book. So it's really cool. The only reason why I know that much about it is because Pastor Derek, the one that lended me the book, told me that. So as far as what's in there, not sure, because I haven't read it. It's a big old book. It's going to take a lot of time. Man, I wish I had. So last week, maybe, there was, I think you posted it first. It was a Instagram story thing.
Yes,
where you,
about what you like.
Yeah, I wish I had that, like, saved. It's gone now.
Huh?
So I could, like...
Fill us in.
There's this thing that has like maybe 50 questions, and you mark out what you like. Like it'll say fuzzy blankets, rainy days, cozy fireplaces, and stuff like that. So you mark what you like.
The
and out of it.
list.
Yeah, a list
Yeah,
of
the
stuff.
list. It was a very, very good
Question list.
But it had a lot of things on there that reminded me of why I like Daystar and why I've found the friends that I have. Because a lot of them, I've been in situations, like on the list, with them. So like early mornings, coffee or tea or whatever, late nights, under the stars, whatever. Like, I just wish I had to be a more accurate story. I could actually tell you who it was and why I chose that on my list.
Right.
But I noticed on yours,
Wonder if I can find
there was one that said, a good book. It was
Not me.
it was
I
just
should have just marked it
it was
out.
just an empty circle. But I was like, fill it up. That's me right there.
Yeah, not me.
But I had almost everything on there. After I got finished, I looked at it. I was like, am I just happy all the time? Like, is there anything that doesn't bring me joy? There were a few things that I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm
trying to think of
about
one.
that. You don't have it either? I couldn't find it.
I could probably look it up, but that'll take more
How did you
time than
find
it's
it to
probably
begin
worth.
with?
Somebody posted
Somebody
it.
else
Yeah.
posted it.
My roomie from Motion, I think, actually did it. Brittany.
I just don't engage in Instagram.
Yeah, I seen it and it said add yours. I was like, what? And I clicked it and it popped up a brand new list. And I was like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, right?
Hey,
it was very
I don't
easy.
recommend this. I did it while I was driving.
Nick! Shame on you! What are you doing? To have to sit there and read all of them, and not only you got to pick your color and you got to click the right spot, and it looked like you were pretty precise on that.
I did accidentally have white to begin with, so
Wow, y'all don't do that. I'm disappointed.
Don't do that. Do not do anything on your phone while you're driving.
Not even text, not even
No,
call,
no
unless you have
texting.
Siri. Call my mom.
Yeah.
Calling dad. No!
No, don't do that.
Yeah, I don't have it.
My Siri doesn't work half the time. It's terrible.
Sorry.
Mine don't like me.
Well, I have a good relationship with Robbie on mine. I named him Robbie.
Robbie, I was like, who's Robbie?
Because on Jesse, the Disney show,
Yes.
that little Robbie, he sounds like him.
I love Robbie. He was so funny with the Komodo dragon.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love that thing.
Yeah, well, my Siri has his accent.
R.I.P. the other kid that was on there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know his name.
Cameron Boyce.
Yes, Cameron Boyce. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, he was iconic. Very young. Don't know what it was. I had some disease. Anyways.
Yeah.
Robbie's pretty cool. Mine. I wonder if mine would work right now. Let's check it out. Hey Siri. It worked. Yep.
All right, here. Y'all can hear my accent.
Ask him to do something.
How are you today?
Excellent.
That is so accurate to Robbie. It's not even funny.
But she'll be driving and we won't understand what it's saying sometimes. She's learned
got
it.
it.
She's
I got
learned
it.
it.
You got it?
Yeah.
You've heard the accent enough times where you could understand.
Yeah, because it's my GPS too. So,
Right.
so he'll be like, take this next right, and it's like,
Exactly.
I'm like, yes sir.
Sir. I turn my sound off when I'm
Me too.
because I don't want to hear.
That's
8
another
times.
distraction.
That's-
Y'all need to get better.
I got
That's
it.
another yeah, that's worse. It doesn't
It's magnetized to my dash right here,
magnetized.
so I can just see. Hey, I'm about to turn, and it says the road up here, and I just go, "Where's the sign at?" And then I turn right instead of going in 500 feet. Turn in 200 feet, in 150,
Dun,
in 75
and-
feet.
You're gonna have to look
Oh
at
my
it, too.
gosh! It's like, and then I miss the turn.
Yeah, turn right now.
Take a U-turn. There's a median. Take a U-turn. There's 15,000 cars coming. Like, now it's added 5 minutes and the turn's right behind me. So
Sorry, that's a struggle for y'all.
it's a big
We
struggle.
usually have her, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm her wingman. Whenever she drives, I'll mute it and tell her where to turn.
Okay, so her GPS voice is you.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, imagine that.
Turn. You just passed it.
No, you just don't even tell her. You just wait till it's passing and you go, so where are you going?
Where are you going?
That'd be funny.
Yeah, it's for her. She's like, turn. Yeah, I got it.
And
Where are you
100%
going?
Where
She
you
knows.
going?
I mean, yeah, definitely.
That's crazy. Yeah, I hate missing my turns on GPS because, oof. And then Dylan, my gosh. Love you, Dylan. I don't know, he probably doesn't. He was my first official guest. Y'all are my first official
One's interviewing him.
reoccurring, not recurring. Is it recurring?
I
Whatever.
was trying to find out what you would call on the way here, actually.
Reoccurring
I
guest.
cannot hear
We could
me.
just say, oh. I forgot.
You can't hear me when the mic's at my mouth.
My bad. I'm probably loud enough to talk from over here.
You want me to hold it?
I don't care.
Um,
I had a lot of people making fun of my accent on this.
I don't know if they were making fun of it.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
care.
you
It's a
can't
figure of
say
speech.
that.
They were talking about it, like, you sound so southern saying Yankee Doodle or
Yankee
whatever.
Doodle's
you
crazy.
know.
Oh, give us a show. No.
No, it does.
Yankee Doodle went to town.
No, it doesn't sound that bad in person, but when it gets on here and you play it on YouTube, I don't know.
I don't
what
even have
it
to
is.
tell you where I'm
My
from.
own
It is-
family can't understand me, so I mumble like nobody's business.
Oh my gosh! It doesn't help that you watch MacGyver original, original MacGyver.
It's a good show, y'all.
I mentioned that.
Murdoch, have you gotten there yet? Have you watched it anymore?
I haven't watched
He
much.
doesn't have time.
I suck at.
It is my background.
I do this too much. You know what I mean? Doom scrolling. I wish
Oh,
I.
yeah.
I wish I could just
I hate
delete it, but
I wish you could turn it off.
I need to just set a screen time.
That's smart.
That way, I'm forced to only use it to post,
Exactly.
right? Instead of being like, well, let's scroll for freaking 4 hours.
Because you need reminded. 'cause
So addicting.
It's seriously addicting.
Yeah, because I don't.
Ridiculous.
Today, I got off my stream at 1:00, and I don't know what I was doing. I got off stream at 1:00, and I sat down. I was like, okay, I'm gonna read my Bible, because there's something I've been wanting to study specifically. So I've been reading the Beatitudes like 4 times, but now I want to go back and be like, okay, what does it mean to be a peacemaker? What does it mean to be poor in spirit? Just each of those things I want to focus on. And I was like, I want to start studying that. I'm going to take a shower, be ready, and I'm going to go be there by like 2:45, whatever. I sat there and scrolled on my phone until 2:15
Hurts.
for an hour and 15 minutes.
I get it.
I looked up and I go,
The guilt
What?
I have after I'm like, oh.
Then you're just like,
yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna have a moment to pray. Something.
Yeah, it's like, well, there's time I'm never getting back.
Exactly.
So, I need to watch more MacGyver. It's so good. It is a fantastic
Guys,
show.
I will warn you
My
if you
mom's gonna freak out when you saying this.
if you look into it, it is a 80s 90s show, so it is cheesy, very
so
very cheesy.
know.
He plays a
Hilariously
mellow
cheesy.
fellow and
Mellow fellow.
mellow fellow. But hey,
It's a fantastic
it's good
show.
stuff.
I mentioned it at D&D, and Dylan Mack was like, what's MacGyver?
Of course, Dylan Mack. They call him Mac MacGyver.
He said, what's MacGyver? I said, excuse me? They said, oh, that one show. I said, yeah, but original is so much better. He said,
Yes.
he
Yes.
said, what?
I
The
love
new
the
one
actors
is
in
so much better than
It's
the
an
original. He likes the new one better.
The actors, I love the actors on the
I love
movie.
Georgians.
But I love the 80s and all, so I can't.
Now, I will admit, I've never watched the newest one. I didn't even know there was a newest one.
It's CBS.
Which is also
CBS.
cheesy.
I'm not a fan of CBS. I'm
Me
also,
neither.
I'll die on this hill. Hallmark movies suck,
Oh, they hurt.
okay?
But hey, it's tradition in our family to watch them out through
Our grandma.
December.
Every single movie is the same.
It's an event.
make
They
fun of
know
it.
by now. They know.
It's just a thing.
There's no way they don't know.
Oh, it's the same exact
Watch
plot.
one and you've seen them all.
Yes, it's this every time, and every time I walk in my Nana's house during Christmas time,
Oh, gosh.
there's a Hallmark movie on the TV.
You ever seen this one? Practically.
Granny used to
Nobody's
watch
watching
Midsummer.
it. It's just on the TV. There's
It's
nobody in the
tradition.
living room.
It's tradition.
Yeah, there's nobody in the living room. It's just there playing for anybody that walks by, and they're like, "Oh, I've seen this
You already know what
8,000
happened,
times."
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know these people played in it. Oh, they probably didn't play in the one you
Yeah.
played in or you watched, but they're doing the same thing. You know, they might as
They
well have
fall
the
in
same
love.
lines.
They get mad from a misunderstanding. They get back together.
Yeah.
One of them probably gets hurt.
Someone
sometime.
moves back to hometown.
Oh yes, hometown.
Yeah. It's crazy. So
Someone's normally
I don't
rich
know if
and the
that's a
other's
hot
poor.
take or if everybody agrees with me. Hallmark movies. are
Everybody
terrible.
has to know that.
They got to.
That's almost why people watch it, though. Our mom watches it to make fun of it, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah. In December we start it. Sometimes November.
Oh,
Goodness help
golly.
us.
Not
We don't watch
November.
it much.
My
No, not a
gosh.
lot. We're all westerns in MacGyver. My mom hates it though.
MacGyver.
Yes.
I finished a show called Sweet Home on Netflix, and it is now one of my all-time favorite shows ever.
It's a show.
Yes. It's got 3 seasons. Every episode is around 50 minutes to an hour. It is a Korean show, so the words don't match up with the mouths because I watched the English
I might
version.
not be able to watch it then.
I watched the
It's
English
Sweet
version.
what?
Sweet Home. It's not what it sounds like. You're going to be surprised when you see it.
I can't. Okay.
So it's a live action. It is a live action. Now before you see the art for it, the art is from like 2 seconds of the most recent season. Okay, it's not even like that most of the time.
I just got a horror film.
That's it. Oh wait. Okay, so this is not the art that I was thinking. Oh, this is on Google or whatever.
Is it horror?
What am I supposed to? Oh, I guess.
Netflix.
Is it horror?
It's not a horror. Well, so
That's it?
that's the main character, but that is also from like 2 seconds of the first season. Okay, that's like
Is it demonic?
so there's a really cool plot to it. Okay, so regular world, like it's this world, it's Earth, you know. Suddenly people start turning into what they call monsters. They just call them monsters. And it's not like monsters that come from somewhere else or something like that, or from like some folklore
like a
or whatever.
virus.
It's actual people turning into these monsters that completely alter their entire DNA, and they're hostile. They start out being hostile to
I love good
all
apocalypse
humans.
stuff.
I was going to say, is it like an apocalypse?
Yes, it's
Love
a good apocalypse. So, there's some people who are called special infectees. So those are people who hold out. So apparently, it's not something that is necessarily an infection that is 100% going to turn you into a monster. When you start showing symptoms, which is bloody nose, right? That's probably the grossest part about it, is the fact that every time someone gets symptoms, it is the most blood I've ever seen in my life coming out of their face. And I'm like, that's disgusting. And they like it just runs down. Like they don't lean over like that or wipe it off. It's just running down their face, over their lips and everything. And I'm like, oh, that's disgusting. But they just sitting there staring at it like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, do something about it. Like that's gross.
That's intriguing.
Yeah.
Not the
So-
bloody part, but.
Right. So then they like black out, and in their minds or whatever, they see themselves, but it is like a possession of themselves, that is enticing them to give in to their biggest desires. Okay? And if they hold out, they'll wake back up, right? If they're able to resist it for 15 days, 15 days. If they hold out for 15 days, they won't be turned into a monster, but they will gain some of the abilities of the monsters. So they'll heal immediately. So if they get cut, it just heals right back up, right? Mm-hmm. If they break legs or whatever like that, it'll just heal. And then they gain some sort of special ability, like this one guy can turn his hands into rocks or something, and stuff like that. So this one guy can turn his hands into like tentacles that seemingly, as far as I know, reach as far as he wants them to. I don't know, but so those are people that don't give in. If you do give in your mind, in your state of mind, you are living out your dream and your biggest desire.
Oh, so you don't even know what's going
Right,
on.
but on the outside, you've turned into a monster, and you're now hostile towards all humans.
It's actually pretty deep if you think about it.
That is
Yes,
interesting.
that guy, the cover art guy with the, so the reason why he has the black eyes, that's when you're being taken over, right? And that's what you see, or what they see, right? They see themselves, but their eyes are all black. So that's how they can know, like, hey, this isn't real. I need to resist whatever's going on. But that guy, he resisted, and he was able to have like a wing that is made out of, it seems like some hard substance that like is almost unbreakable. Like he can, anyways. He gained the ability to actually enter into their minds mid like transformation and turn them back into human.
Oh.
So, as far as we know, I've watched all 3 seasons. It should continue, but I'm not entirely sure. He's the only person that can do it. But there's like a whole season there where everything looks like it's done for. But there's a lot of interesting things. So they can be turned back if he can get in there and like convince them that it's fake. Some monsters can't be turned back, and there's spoilers. I don't know if y'all are actually going to watch it.
Who knows?
This is a very small part, I guess, and it's at the very end. There's people called the neo-humans, which are now a kind of combined breed of monsters and humans where they look fully human. They mostly don't have emotions, but they have all of their memories. So, in a way, they can learn to have the emotions again, and at least one of them is trying. And of course, it's hard to accept that because, like, the humans think that all monsters should die. Whatever. If the neo-humans die, the adaptation was they go into cocoons type deals. They call it a heart. So it's this really gross looking like cocoon thing. In like a couple of days, they just pop right back out just fine. So they don't die, basically.
Okay.
Unless someone cuts open the cocoon while they're coming back to life. I think that's their only, like a respawn. Like that's their only weakness. But they heal immediately. They learn everything faster. They move faster, and they're just stronger. So at the end of the 3rd season, they're trying to get society back, and that one guy is trying to turn infectees back, as long as they're not neo-human or already fully transformed. So that might be the end of the show, because it sounds like a good ending.
Yeah.
It sounds like, hey, this is what they're going to try to do to like bring the world back to normal civilization. But it's a very interesting show that has some dark connotations to it. But there's no explicit anything in it ever. Like there's some cursing, but not even that bad of cursing. Obviously there's some violence, but there's absolutely basically no nudity. You see like a man's butt twice.
Okay, yeah, don't want to see that, but
Yeah, you see that twice, but like, so that's it.
But
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah. That's
my dad jokes.
oh gosh.
that's it though. So it's for a modern show, like that's really good. And it's safe. for the most part. If
I'll
you
look
can handle,
into it.
if you can handle the gore, because it's pretty gory. If you can handle all that, then it's a really good show. My parents didn't watch. You ever heard of Squid Game?
Heard of it? Yeah.
It's- you know
Got
it is.
My parents didn't watch it because they couldn't get over the fact that it's a Korean show with English voiceovers.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of anime. That's normal to me.
Yeah.
So Squid Game was amazing. Can't wait for season 2 sometime this year. And that show, all-time favorite. Not the all-time, but one of them. Why did I tell that story?
We're getting to know you, Nick.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
My question. Okay, we're gonna get a little serious. Let's
Yeah,
get it
yeah.
back.
I like
Okay.
serious. I like serious.
Was there a time you felt God's love? A specific time, maybe the first time, just deep presence of God,
Ooh, I got to think on that one.
or a relationship that He was real?
Hmm.
Maybe the time He actually talked to you for the first time. Or that you heard Him. He's always talking to you.
Yeah, yeah. So like a distinct
listening.
moment in time where I was like, this is what God's calling me to do right now. Like He just now told me this. I feel like sometimes when people ask me these questions, I feel like I should remember them a lot better because it seems like it'd be a prominent thing.
Yeah.
Like I heard God or whatever, or seen what He was trying to do. Let's see. So other than the salvation thing, and yes. So the second time I went to Uganda was January of 2023. And I can't remember if I talked about this with Nathan last Friday, for y'all last Tuesday. But you're going to hear it again, so get over it.
Maybe you just need to get it in your brain.
Yes, maybe you just need to hear it again. So the second time I went to Uganda was for the youth conference that they had there. And on the last day, so we had 4 people, I think, from a different church come with us, or meet us there, I guess. And the last day, they had some pastors that were speaking. And the last guy, it was supposed to be the last guy, it wasn't planned for me to speak at all. Okay, I wasn't asked, I wasn't scheduled, and no one said, hey, wear a tie, or anything like that. Dress nice, Scriptures started popping in my head, 2 scriptures that I hadn't really thought about in a while. So I looked them up in my Bible, and I read them both, and then a little connection from them just started forming in my head, a lot to say. So my heart was just pounding. I was like, okay, this is for a reason. I don't know why. And when I finished in my head, I was like, okay, so I'll have that. I'll have to write more of this down later, so I have it whenever it's time to preach it. About that time, Bishop Nassan Ibrahim leans over and goes, do you want to say something? I said,
I bet your heart dropped to your belly.
yeah, I was like, sure. Like, I'm not going to say no to that. Like, that's cool. So the guy ends, and the bishop goes up, grabs the mic, and he goes, give it a hand for, I can't remember his name, Steve. We'll call him Steve.
I thought you were trying to remember your name.
That's not good.
And then he goes, we're going to have one more guy come up here and speak. And he's like, come on, Nick. And then I get up. I'm wearing a T-shirt, some jeans, and some Vans.
Way to speak to the students.
Yeah. Well, their students are a little different.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are people there that are 26 or 30, right? That's their students, okay? I walk up them stairs. They're like long stairs, so I'm taking big steps. Marble. Beautiful.
Oh, really?
It's like the best looking part of it. You turn around, ceiling goes, I swear it's like 150 feet. It's just big dome, and it's just like dirt with, their chairs are the white plastic lawn chairs.
Yeah.
Right. That's what their chairs are.
Yeah.
Anyways, I walk up there. I say good morning. I let the translator say how they say good morning. Everyone says it back. I turn around, and I look back at them for the first time. This whole time, of course, I've been looking forward, and I don't know what's going on behind me. I turn around, and there's 3,500 people staring back at me. I've never had that many people in front of me before. I look from my left to the right. The room is completely filled. There are people standing outside looking through the windows.
Wow.
And everyone up the stairs to the balcony and along the balcony and down the stairs on the other side, just completely filled. And I was like, And then there's a camera streaming to about 1,000 people online.
Wow.
And I'm like,
That's crazy.
Was that the moment you go, it's, yeah.
I took a deep breath, and I just introduced myself. I was like, I'm Nick Sterling.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I think whatever. And then I tried to make some jokes about how I was white and about how that gives me no, that doesn't mean anything.
Of course you do.
They loved it. And then I
Yeah,
said,
right.
It doesn't matter that I'm wearing nice shoes. They were Vans, but they were new to me. So I just gotten them for Christmas like a week before. So I made that joke. They loved it. But as a white guy they're going to love whatever I say. If we're being real, it's not like I'm the funniest guy they'd ever seen, but they like hearing words from a white man, period. And that just means they know that we left a relatively wealthy area to go to them and to serve them and to teach them, and they're in probably the most impoverished place that I've ever seen. As far as an actual society goes, obviously there's some tribes and stuff out there that are completely disconnected from civilization. Obviously they're a little more impoverished, but besides the point. The whole message was trying to empower them to seek God on their own. There's a really bad, I almost said stigma, but that doesn't feel right. A really bad mindset there where they think they need the bishop or they need a pastor to be in the presence of God or to hear from God.
Yeah.
And so that's why so many people came to the cathedral that day, and so many people tried to get into contact with us, and they try to stay up there as much as possible, and they're just at the building every single day, getting preached to. Oh my gosh, I tell you, during that, so their student, what do they call it, conference, is completely different to what we do here. For them, it's like they do some praise and worship, which lasts about 2 hours. It's crazy. They separate praise and worship. It's two different things for them. And then they have pastor after pastor after pastor after pastor for like 6 hours. And all of them are preaching different things. So they're not structured. Like here, if we have a conference and if you have multiple speakers, generally they're going to have the same linked message. Yeah, not them. They're like, you speak on whatever you want to speak on for however long you want to speak on it. Which is not good, because you're just giving them a whole bunch of different information without equipping them for anything. So I was like, hey, you can meet God right where you're at home, in the road, when you're walking, at work, in the car, on the back of a boda, which is a little motorcycle there. We were sitting there on the last day, right before we were going to go back and get ready to hop in the bus and go. And this guy in just full robes walks in, and they just start going wild. And about that time, one of our guys goes, all right, come on. And all of us that were there on the mission trip just in a line left. And when we got out there, they explained why we did that. It's because the guy that walked in is known for preaching 3-hour messages. So he was not about to have us stay in there for 3 more hours. We'd already been there all day. I was like, I am so glad that you did that. I couldn't imagine. Now, I know some people, like some churches here, they'll have one service and it'll go from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. No offense, but that's crazy. I've visited churches like that, and it threw me for a loop because we did worship for an hour straight. Don't get me wrong. Great. That is so draining because you're pouring out so much, especially for, I cannot imagine how the people singing and playing the instruments feel. Like for me, I'm pouring out praise and worship, and after an hour, I am just, I'm so tired. So them up there leading us, gotta be exhausted.
You gotta stay in the presence the whole time.
Yes.
You're gonna feel that exhaustion.
It's difficult.
Yeah, you click out, you're out.
And then the preacher gets up there, and he starts talking, and then he goes, "Yep, this ain't gonna work." I'm like, "What?" He takes off his coat, and I'm like, "Oh." He doesn't even like put it on the bench or like a pew or whatever. He puts it on the elevated stage behind him. So it's just like, there's no, like here, everything is structured. Like we got times, we got people to bring things out, and we know exactly when to put them out there and when to bring them back. And if something needs to come off the stage, it is coming off as subtly as possible. That's not a big deal to me. Like if I'm up there preaching, I don't care what's going on. Like I'll do whatever. I'll throw my jacket on the ground. I'll throw my hat behind me. I don't care. Like it's not a big deal to me. Distractions, I feel like aren't as, like they're not that deep in my mind. Like you don't have to be so structured every time. It's just how our church is. So their church doing that, and then them joking around, and then him preaching for 2 hours, or an hour and a half, and then doing another 30 minutes of worship at the end. I was like, that's great. And the people here are awesome. And like, I can tell that they're on fire. But there's a reason why they're stuck at 200. And every church, every single church, I don't know if y'all know this, but I learned this in Bible college. 200 is like a hill that every single church hits. And it is the most difficult thing for them to get past is having 200 members. If you can get past 200, you'll grow really quickly. But once you get to 200, it is apparently the most difficult part to grow past. And sometimes it's because you refuse to change things up. And sometimes that means shortening your service times. You only have one service from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. That might not be for everybody. So we have 3. We've entertained the thought of 4. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. But that's how it is.
That's how much people we have, though.
Yeah. So when we keep changing things up to make it more, to reach more people. Because, I mean, you got to reach people. If you can reach people and change things up without compromising the gospel, then do it. You can't be set on tradition. You can't be set on structure if it's holding you back from reaching other people in the community. So we've got roughly 3,000 people that run through here, just this location on a Sunday through 3 services. So that's about 1,000 each service. Now, of course, that fluctuates up and down, whatever. Plus our 2 services in Madison and our 3 services at Hartselle. And there were so many people on a baptism Sunday that we actually had to start adding more chairs in the sanctuary, and adding more parking outside. We had to ask our volunteers and our staff and pastors to park in the grass so that we could have more actual parking spots for the congregation.
If you got 4-wheel drive, park down here.
Yeah. I was driving a Mustang, and they were like, yeah, park in the grass over there. I was like, I'll be there for a week. I'm like,
You got a strap or something? Pull me out?
Yeah, so I was like, I'll put it over there, but you got to help me pull it out, so. And they were like, yeah, we're going to do like either a Saturday night or a Sunday afternoon. And I was like, okay, so if they do a Sunday afternoon, that's going to be crazy to ask volunteers to do that, and there's no way Pastor Jerry is going to enjoy coming back after lunch and preaching another service. That's when they told me, hey, what we would do, and what some churches have done, is have that one be a recorded service, and people will watch it on the screen like the people do at our other broadcasting campuses. And I was like, that's not a bad idea, but you still have to have people here serving coffee. Well, maybe we don't do coffee. Maybe we don't do coffee for the afternoon service, or I guess we'd just have like bare bones, like next steps, ushers, and greeting. And maybe that's it. Because, no need for a pastor's assistant if the pastor's not there. maybe the worship team, or maybe have Spotify. I don't know. Just be a very bare bones thing, which
If you can't wake up early and go to church, that's what you get.
yeah, then you don't get the people. You know what I mean?
You don't get the
I'm
coffee either.
I'm just kidding. All that being said, like you really just gotta make sure that you can do what you can to reach as many people as possible without compromising Scripture.
You gotta have a level of not religious but still organized.
Yes. Yeah. All that came from a question of, have I heard God before? I'm sure there are many times that I've felt His presence, and there have been many times where I felt an impression, like the story that I did tell. That was more of an impression than like knowing that God is calling me to do something specific in a moment, or answering like a specific question that I was asking that, tilted my life course. Some people have had that. Some people have felt like they've heard audible voice of God. Some people have felt like they've had God answer a prayer like in the moment, and they know in the moment that it is answered prayer. I can't recall that. Admittedly, I've had a very shifty prayer life. I've always had a very shifty prayer life, which is kind of affected by my lack of time management, but also just sometimes I feel like maybe I am hearing like from God, maybe I am and just not recognizing it, or I'm afraid that I think I am and I'm just getting it wrong. So, which I'm sure is a normal thing, but so that makes me not know what to pray about, or if I pray about something too much, or if it is possible to pray about something too much. So that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I got a saying on that. I think I said it last time. Is if there's something that you think is God, like you're sitting there and you're just like, oh, should I do that? Most of the time it doesn't just pop in your head, but the Holy Spirit's telling you. But I say it would be better to do it and it not be God and you trying to do what He tells you to, than for you not to do it and God did tell you to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Because He knows you're trying.
Mm-hmm.
And in the future, it will be easier to listen and to know. And that's my thought on it.
That's a good thought.
That's what I had to say, because I really struggle with sitting there like, go tell this person this, or just stand up, for instance, or something. And you sit there for 30 minutes going, Is this you? Is this you? Is that right? Should I do that? And so I kind of think He told me that, but it's like it would be better to do it and it not be me than to not do it and it be God.
How does it feel to not be an overthinker?
Sometimes it can be a problem. No, sometimes it can be a problem because you don't think about what you're going to say, so you just like say it.
Or sometimes I have to think for you.
And then everybody look at you and you're like, what did I say?
Wait, what was that?
What did I say? What did I do?
It's like someone asks you a question about what you just said, and you're like, wait, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I said that out loud.
Uh-huh.
You said that
that wasn't my thought.
Yeah, that was supposed
My
to be
bad.
the quiet one.
Like, I don't even think quietly. I'm sitting here going, yeah, I got to text that person. Got to mark that. Got to do that. And people respond to you just thinking, it's like, I'm talking?
Whoops. You weren't supposed to hear that. I overthink about everything, which probably stems from something that happened or was said to me. I don't know yet. If I knew, by George, that'd be incredible, because then I could do something about it.
I kind of think it's a character trait.
It is personal.
It could be.
It's a personality.
Because a lot of people do it, and not everyone has trauma.
But yeah, you remind me a lot of her with your overthinking. She overthinks everything.
Yep.
And she'll tell me about something she's overthinking. I'm sitting here going,
Well, Ma doesn't understand that I'm not overthinking it for an hour. Like, my thinking that much is in one split second.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think about all of that quickly.
Mm-hmm. It's the worst when if I'm by myself, I struggle with, unless I'm driving.
in a quiet room,
Yeah.
doing nothing, just sitting there.
I struggle with that. Because
What? Oh, my God.
sometimes my overthinking will somehow end up to death. And I talked to you about this a little bit. And it's irrational. As a believer, this is an irrational thought. The fear of death. That's not a thing for us, right? Death should be something we look forward to.
Or even want.
Yeah, like
Not
please.
want, but like
We gotta get our missions done.
you go to see Christ, but
Yeah.
take as many people as possible. So stay as long as you can.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. And it's just because I've heard so many people say, I have died. I was pronounced. I've like the hospital pronounced me dead, and it was nothing. It was just, and then when I came back to life, it was as if I was just sleeping. And like I'm like, wait a minute. So you didn't see God? He didn't tell you to depart from Him. But then I'm like, wait. He probably knew that she was going to be revived. So why go through that whole process? You know, if she was just going to come back, I don't know, less than a minute later. I'm sure it was maybe a couple of seconds, I'm sure. Because there's a small amount of time that you can be dead and still come back to life.
Unless without brain damage.
Unless Jesus is like, you know what, you've been dead for 4 days. Lazarus, come back to life, you know what I mean?
Life.
So,
Take a walk, boy.
unless it is an actual miracle of God, there's a very small window of time that you can come back to life after being pronounced dead with a non-beating heart. Because your mind is still active. So, maybe to her mind, she actually was just sleeping. For, I don't know, 3 minutes or less. I don't know what the time
She
is,
could
but
have
it's...
died, but her soul didn't leave.
Yeah, so that's how that is. And then some people are like, man, I just believe in nothingness. That it's going to be exactly the same as if, you know, before you were born.
You know how depressing that would
And I
make
was like,
me?
what the heck?
It's not a good
Exactly.
thought. It's
It
not.
there's a physical, heavy, uncomfortable feeling right here in the middle of my sternum anytime that I go down that rabbit hole, because there's a famous guy. He's a comedian and he's British, so everyone thinks he's smart just because of his accent. And everything that he says, they take for fact, okay? And it's crazy to me.
Don't
'cause
ever
he's-
take a comedian's word.
He's also an actor, okay? He's a very, I can't remember his name, super famous British actor and comedian.
I don't even know who you are.
He was saying, and he actively mocks Christianity in some of his,
Jokes?
yeah,
Shows?
stand-ups, yeah. So his routines, that's the word I was looking for, his routines. Like he'll read a book, like a children's book about Noah and the ark, and he'll just like, he'll
Tear it
just
down.
mock it. He'll mock the art. He'll mock the lack of information, the lack of species. And I'm like, it's a children's book. They're not going to have every single detail in there, and they're not going to have the greatest artist in the world. Are you kidding me right now? Anyways, so he's like, it's going to be exactly the same. You didn't know you weren't alive before you were born, so you're not going to know that you're not alive when you're not alive anymore. And my brain goes, that almost makes sense. And then my heart goes, dang, that almost makes sense. And then if I don't, I have to audibly, because sometimes it happens when I'm standing there in the shower, and I audibly, out loud, go, no, that scares me so much, you have no idea, I can't think about that, so do something else. And if I don't do that, like, because it hurts physically, and I'm talking actual real pain in my head and in my heart. And it's not like a headache, it's like I feel it inside of my brain. It's weird, and I don't like it. So when I think about things like that, if I don't very intensely out loud, because I can't just think, hey, don't think about that, and I can't just stand there in one spot because the pain is just everywhere and it's just a dead, pointless hopelessness, right? It's terrible. So that's where overthinking takes me sometimes.
I'm not even going to tell y'all what I think in a room not doing anything. It's dumb, bro. But anyway, Anyway, my thought on that nothingness thing is,
Yes.
as a Christian, why would you be created if you went to nothing?
Right.
What would be the point? God would not have created you.
Puppets, like.
We're not puppets, and there's no purpose that being done, but you have a purpose on this earth, and you will go to heaven. And I think the non-believers, that is the best thing that they can think of, is going to nothingness. Because if you don't believe, you're not going anywhere good.
Yeah. Scientists
What are you doing?
I got really excited because scientists have discovered something new. Well, I don't know how long ago the discovery was made. I just seen it, okay? videoed the moment of. Okay, thinking about this before I say it, it's gonna sound weird. Get past it.
So just
Stuff
listen.
usually does.
They filmed the moment of in it. I can't say this without sounding weird, but I promise it's so good. It's so good. So in the moment of conception, in the uterus, well, maybe it's somewhere along the after pregnancy, but in the uterus there's a moment that scientists caught of a light entering into the fetus, and I'm like, that is the soul. You know what I mean? So like that was really cool because there's nothing they can't explain
They
it.
caught that?
They caught that on camera, and there's a video of it.
No accident.
There's actual light entering into it, and then it goes into it and then disappears. So I was like, I like that. You know?
That's crazy.
That
guys.
helps me so much. So that was really cool.
You know, I believe this, but people say you're picked in the womb. God already, He chose you out of however many is in there. You know, 100 billion, whatever. I don't know.
So many.
Yeah, but He also picked your soul for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like He picked what you were gonna be like, what you're gonna like.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an overthinker, if you don't think at all, He picked your likes. He picked your wants. He picked everything about you for a reason. Part of your mission, for a
Yes.
purpose.
Yeah. Someone said on maybe it was a clip of some podcast, but they said that there are, and it's true, there are an immeasurable amount more of people who will never exist than people who will ever exist. So that number of people who will ever exist. So let's say that Earth, or let's say theoretically, Jesus doesn't come back for another 15 million years. That's a long time. Okay, that's a stupid amount of time, right? In those 15 million years, let's say there'll be 16 billion more people. If the Earth was still here 15 million years, probably so many more than 16 billion people. Just saying. Anyways,
For example.
just an example. Let's say there's 16 billion people. There's probably going to be 150 quintillion times that will never exist. So versus roughly 16 billion that will ever, versus 16 quintillion whatever times that will not. So that's what we say when we say that. All of that is made up random numbers that I just thought of. None of that was said in the podcast that I'm talking about, or in the clip that I'm talking about. I was just giving an example of what I mean versus like 3 people here versus the 8 billion that aren't here. That's what that means. So that being said, you are here versus the millions or billions or trillions or whatever that aren't and will never. So you should already count that as a blessing versus, oh my gosh, I'm suffering and miserable. Shut the freak up and realize that being able to take a breath and see the world and talk to other people and understand this, that are also conscious exactly like you are and have thoughts just like you do and feelings just like you have, that's a blessing. That's something you don't need to take for granted, because one day they aren't going to be there. Whether that means they're just moved on with life or RIP, you know what I mean? So take your time with the people that you have, because there was a big chance that they weren't going to be here to begin with. And that's not scary anymore, since I actually seen that video about the light after we'd had the conversation about me being afraid of death that night. So very recent that I seen that. It was just really cool.
I was also going to say, because I know some people would grieve the fact that some people will never exist, but as that video of the spirit entering, there was never a spirit, which means they were never a being, which means they were never anything.
Yeah.
Kind of like eating a chicken egg.
So
You know, it wasn't anything but an egg.
yeah, so it's not like they're sitting there like, oh man, I wished I existed.
It's not a thing.
It's not
How
a thing.
long have we been going on?
I have no idea. It's okay though.
Yeah.
So there's actually this theory that some Christians think that we were in heaven as spirits that had jobs, and we were chosen to be reborn as humans. So they were like, when we die and go back to heaven, we will remember our jobs beforehand. And I was like, where? Show me that somewhere.
For real. We have stuff to back up.
Yes.
Like,
Everything that we should believe in as Christians, there's a book for that. So if you could show me that,
Book of
please.
Truth.
I might think about entertaining that idea. There's a more accepted version of that where, and I'm pretty sure we've actually taught that here at some point in time, where we will be given jobs once we do go into the kingdom of heaven. Not that we will be recognized as people with those jobs. But as we know, the angels, they have jobs. They minister to us. Scripture says that. And while we don't pray to the angels, it might be good to pray to Jesus to be like, hey, can you send some angels to minister to me in this moment to help me through whatever? Because, I mean, obviously we know the Holy Spirit's our helper, but like angels have their purpose too. And some of them, their purpose is to just sing holy to God the whole time. Their whole existence is that. And some, it's to minister to us or to fight on our behalf or whatever it may be. Because there is a spiritual war happening at this moment. Could be in this room. Could be around us right now. We don't know. Obviously, there's a veil. We can't see the spiritual realm. Some people have claimed to be able to like see it for a moment. I've prayed and begged to have that veil lifted so I could see the spiritual realm. And then I think about it and I'm like, that would actually be terrifying. So I might actually hate that. So
take it back.
The spiritual realm is a very serious, deep thing.
Yes.
God lets the ones that
Yeah.
possibly sees it.
yeah.
He allows you to see what you
But
do
it's
because
never
there's
gonna
a.
be full, I don't think.
Yeah. So like
I think it'd kill us.
God knows that I probably
Scare us.
couldn't sleep at night if I could see
Oh, yeah.
what was going on around me in the spiritual realm. So that's probably why I can't see it.
Well, it's not in our comprehension either. So.
Right. Yeah. So I probably wouldn't even know. I know there are spirits that latch onto us. Like we call it little, but they can have big impacts. Like laziness and the sloth spirit, stuff like that. That you can. And I talked about that with Nathan. Just every night doing some sort of a deliverance prayer where you obviously start with like recognizing your sin and like audibly saying, hey, this is what I did, ask for forgiveness, and then be like, whatever spirit of sloth or laziness or gluttony even, or anger or whatever it is, just any bad spirit, just like play that goes now. And he was saying like the important word there is now, because they will find every loophole and they'll be like, yeah, I'll leave, but it might take me 2 years.
Later.
Yeah, it might take me 2 years. It might take me a month, whatever. In the same sense, some people refuse to be delivered because Jesus said once you cast one out, 7 more will come in and replace it. And they think that if I don't get rid of this demon, or if I do get rid of this bad spirit, then 7 more will come into me, so I'll just keep this bad spirit. And I'm like, not the best way to look at that.
You will always be tempted.
Yes.
By more than one.
all the time.
Always.
And it's not-
It's a
there's no-
day-to-day thing. You have a choice.
There's
and
no
like,
limit.
yeah.
Like,
And there's generational curses too.
oh yeah.
And I think the most important thing is making sure that ends with you, and that's not an easy task.
Yeah. Yeah, anger's a big one in my family. even now, my gosh, I didn't recognize that until 2 years ago. My every man in my direct family, like not cousins, obviously, because they're technically different bloodline, right? So every male in my direct bloodline has struggled with anger issues, and they will respond. They all respond, and I used to respond the same way, where whatever's around us, we're gonna punch, right? If it's a person, we'll get in a fight. If it's a wall, there might be a hole, unless it's made out of like metal or not sheetrock. Like if it's some harder wood than sheetrock, then might not be a hole, but I'll punch it. A car roof, denting cars. I've always driven older vehicles, so I never really cared about how they looked. So I would punch my car, punch my truck, and it would hurt, and because it was easier for me to deal with the physical pain than it was the anger, because I didn't know how to process it. So I would turn that anger into the physical pain, make my knuckles bleed, whatever, and I would just be like, okay, I can manage this pain now, and it'll go away. I didn't realize how bad that would be to the people around me, how badly that would affect them, especially in a relationship. Like, that'll scare your partner.
And how badly it affects you too, though.
Yeah, it's not good. And when I recognized that, it took me scaring someone, like it made them not want to be honest with me, if they were afraid to make me angry. So it affected whatever relationship we had going on. So I couldn't talk to them as well as I before. And that's when I recognized, hey, this is a real thing. This is a real problem. And then I realized, hey, I've been telling everyone around me, or my comfort people, about family that has, I don't know if I should, family get angry at each other in the house that I am in and yell and scream and throw things and break walls and lamps and stuff, and how much that affected me is the same way that I was affecting people around me. So that's when I was like, okay, this comes from being around that my whole life. This is a generational thing. And now I need to shift how I react with my anger. And instead of reacting, I respond. So I take a moment, I think about it. And if it's a person making me angry that I can talk to, I'll talk to them. But if it's a situation making me angry, I'll just convince myself the truth that it's not that serious.
Yeah.
There's no situation that you're in that could be serious enough to make you furious enough to like physically harm yourself or people or things around you. Like it shouldn't be, and if it is that serious to you, you need to take a step back and look at it a little closer. I know that those two things, you know what I mean. Just take a step back, analyze it on a deeper level.
With a clear mind.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Step back and look at it closer. What? You know what I mean.
Yeah. But I forgot what I was going to say, but I had something to say.
I'm sorry.
Backtracking. No, it wasn't you. I was going to say it afterwards, and I forgot. Well, I'll say this.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I remember.
Hey.
I think it's very important to search yourself, but with God. Search yourself with God.
Yes.
And ask Him to reveal whether it's, your faults, your flaws.
There you go.
And so that you can, get better at that. So you can both work on that, as in you and God. Because you can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, it's still not going to be good. And generational curses, make sure it ends with you so that people around you and your children don't have to deal with any of that.
Mm-hmm.
It can end with you. And it might take, a few years or months or however long, but make sure it ends. That's my opinion.
Yeah. If you recognize the generational curse and then just accept it, I mean, you're part of the problem, obviously. And then you're just going to make your kids have the same generation curses, and then they're going to have to go through the same struggles that you did in that area. So, obviously, if you don't do anything about it, if you don't, cause like she said, it's not going to be easy. By George, when I first started, like I said, this was 2 years ago. So over the 2 years, I've gotten a lot better. But when I first started, I had to catch myself, like getting angry. Every time I got angry, my face would just get real hot, and I would be so furious I couldn't think about anything else, except for hurting either myself to transfer the pain from internal to external. I'm really good at handling external pain. Handling internal pain, if it's not sadness, because sadness I can just cry. It feels good. Anger, what am I going to do? Yell and cuss at somebody is what I used to do. Yell, cuss, punch things or people, whatever it may be, whatever the situation was. That's what I used to do. I used to get in fights and like dent up my vehicles or yell at people and cuss at them and just insult them to high heavens. And it was just not healthy, and nothing was resolved ever. Okay, it was either we forgot about the situation, or if it was a relationship, it would end, or if it was a person, they would never talk to me again. Whatever it was just never actually resolved. So, fixing the issue, going through the work and the trouble to do so, it'll greatly increase your quality of life. Period.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm trying not to drop this.
Should I go from you first?
Yeah.
Actually, there's a couple basics I forgot. So where are you
Okay.
from? Oh,
Where am I
yes.
from?
Where are you
Okay.
from?
So, born and raised in Coleman, Alabama. Some people say that I don't sound like it.
Is your
talk
parents? Yeah, you have a good vocabulary, which I know I didn't say that right. But where's your parents from?
Also from here.
Well, you must have good education.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Some have said in the past that
See? Some say, some have said.
that the later it gets, the more tired I get, the more my country accent comes out.
Yes,
Oh,
I agree with that.
My
Is that-
tired voices. Oh, I'm a caveman when I'm tired. Telling you.
I'm sorry, what?
So I don't know why I talk like this. I didn't know that I didn't have the accent until last month. Maybe it was last month or the month before. I met a man at Anytime Fitness, and he's starting something this month called churting, which is after church on one Saturday a month.
I thought you said turding.
No, churting with a CH. We'll go to Sportsman's Lake and we will bird watch and kind of talk about creation and like why birds are so
That's
beautiful
really
and stuff
cool.
like that. So, and the guy wanted me to be the Daystar connection of that.
Oh yeah.
And he asked me where I was from. I told him from Coleman. He was like, "Really? You don't sound like it." And I was like, "No one's ever said that to me before."
I mean, now that I'm really listening, though, I mean, I can hear the Southern.
We have
There's clearly a
Southern,
Southern.
Yeah.
Did you take language or something, though, like speech or something like that?
In college, at Wallace, I did take speech class, which is why I don't say or often.
Or and or y'all or...
And y'all.
I probably need some
And
of that,
so
but, you know.
like a lot of
So,
a lot of people start with so
And,
yeah, you know, so
See, you have
like
the
that.
Southern, but you don't have the Southern slang.
and it's
You have
because
the
of
accent, but not
speech
the
class.
slang. Yeah.
It's because of speech class.
Figured it out, y'all.
I had to
See?
I y'all
Brutal.
often. When I text y'all, like both y'all, I am self-conscious about how many times in one text I text y'all. It's because it's a lot. And when I read it back to myself, I'm like, that's too many. That's going to sound weird because that's like 6 y'alls in one.
You ever text her?
Carry on, Nick.
Don't be self-conscious. You're doing great.
We're getting real on this one.
We're getting real. For maybe a year when I was 2 or 3, 3 years old. In 2001, my family did move to Ocala, Florida, and my dad was going to be like a CEO of a branch that they were opening of the company he worked for.
Where's that?
Ocala, Florida. It's on the beach somewhere near
okay.
near the beach,
That solves it.
near a beach in Florida. I don't know. Apparently, it's a really nice area in Florida. But the reason why we moved back is because my brother kept getting hives and breaking out.
yeah.
But as soon as we moved back, it was fine. So I don't know what it was there, stress, I guess, from moving and all that. But if he didn't get sick so much, I was very close to being an Ocala boy. Imagine me as a Florida man, right? That's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
khaki
that would've-
shorts, your sandals.
Right. Like, my life would be so different.
You could be a surfer.
No. I would.
I
Surfing's
see
crazy.
that. I see that.
I would have
How about
like
the hair just look?
I would have like the shark tooth necklaces.
Oh, yeah.
And probably a little tanner. And like I probably wouldn't be. I don't know how my church life would be, or if it would be. You know, it's hard to be like, yeah, I know God had a plan,
Yeah.
and God probably still would have led me into church. But also, that's a completely different situation with nobody's the same person. I don't know any of the same people. Growing up in all the different schools, the different situations, like that is an entirely different life. It's not even me, you know. So I don't know where I would be right now if I would even have a beard, because you know those
I
Florida
didn't even have a beard.
those Florida people, they like to have the clean shave and
You can have maybe
and-
a little goatee.
oh, not the
Big guy.
goatee.
You know one of those
That's-
triangle ones?
Oh, not the triangle goatee.
Yeah.
Because I did have a goatee when I
Hey.
first started here, and it was terrible. Absolutely awful. I didn't have this connection that I have right now, so it was like separate. I had the soul patch and the mustache,
Oh yeah.
and that was it. Right? And of course, the little
Yeah,
beard,
yeah.
right? But none of
Chin
it was connected. It was all disconnected. So I liked it.
That's all,
I didn't-
that's all that matters.
I didn't realize, now looking back on it, like I didn't realize how thin it was. So it was super thin on the chin, and it was really long. And it was just straight down. And sometimes, like, I would just find myself doing this, so it would come to a point,
Sensei?
right? Yeah.
Well,
I would
sensei.
just, like, I was just doing this, right? Just thinking, or like in the middle of a conversation. But I would eventually do it enough to where it would just come to a point. It'd just be this little thin point, right? But it'd be really long down here.
It
And
ended
it
up being
just,
2 fingers.
and it was so it was wide here, right? Chin wide. But it was so thin because it was just here, right? It wasn't like all the way back
Yeah.
here and down. It was just this little thin line. So if you looked at me from the side, it's this little bit that just comes straight down. And it just looks so goofy. It was terrible.
I tell you the worst beard, the ones I don't like is just the neck beard.
The neck beard?
Nothing
oh.
right here in the front, just
Just all neck. My
Feels
cousin has that.
I think that's a goat beard right there.
Goat.
The goat beard?
beard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know it was almost 7 o'clock?
Huh?
It's almost 7.
PM?
Yeah. 59.
What time did we start?
Around 4:30.
Brothers.
Are you serious?
Yes! You forgot where you were there for a second too, didn't you? PM?
Do I need to shut the freak up? What has happened? Why am I talking so much?
We could, hey, seperate it into 2. I can do.
Homeschooled.
We could do part 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm homeschooled. I don't have school anymore. Got my degree. Bachelor's.
Applause.
Somebody said, go do your master's. I said, I don't know about that.
Not going to college. Call me a bum.
My brother didn't go to college, and he's made more money in his life than I ever
I was just
have.
gonna say, nowadays, you make more money without going to college than going to
Not
college.
our oldest brother though. He's a head dean of college, but that's a different
That's-
story.
Love you, Adam.
That's like when
Okay, if you're a doctor, you gotta go to college.
when I found that out. When y'all, I found that out when y'all going on y'all's trip, I think.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on,
Yeah.
that's
Also
just
out of
like
place, but then you remember he's your brother. And
that's crazy. Because
That is like,
I'd never,
outta here,
I've
Adam.
never, in my mind, I've never known somebody that did know a head dean of a college,
I don't
right?
wanna-
Like
I don't realize it enough. I really
I
don't.
don't realize how much money he's got till I go to his house.
you were like, I'm visiting my brother in Texas. I was like, oh, that's cool. Why is he in
Little
Texas?
hypocrite, you know.
And yeah, she was like, well, he's the head dean of college. I said,
Head
what?
dean of the
I said,
Text.
Wait a minute.
I know.
Hold on.
Very proud of him, definitely.
Which college?
Good question.
We try to
just
remember,
moved.
but
We try to remember.
He
Yeah,
just
I don't
moved.
remember
He moved less than a month ago.
I mean,
so,
there's probably
mean,
so many colleges
tried to
in
remember
Texas.
he said it was his top pick though, so he's real happy.
Oh,
it's
nice.
the second biggest.
Which part of
One of the
Texas?
biggest.
Dallas?
That's where
Yes.
it
Close
starts,
to-
Dallas.
Yes, it's Dallas.
So it's a big college.
It's
yes.
Everything in Dallas
one
is
of the
big.
biggest.
biggest ones.
You can't be in Dallas and not.
It's-
Someone.
Top 3 biggest.
It's in the top 3 biggest in America colleges.
That's crazy. I told Pastor Derek I loved Dallas, and he was like, "You should plant a church in Dallas. They become mega churches immediately." I was like, "That's so far away. I don't know anybody
but
there."
downtown Dallas
We didn't
is
go to the hot part of
shady.
Dallas.
So shady.
I went to a bad part. You couldn't go outside, bro.
I walked around at night one time in Dallas.
daylight where we
I
were.
was afraid. I wasn't outside for long. I walked out front to meet my DoorDash delivery driver. I was hungry. It was nighttime. I'm not leaving. Okay, I'm
Right,
not
right.
going anywhere.
I'm not
Okay.
sitting in nowhere.
No, I'm not walking to somewhere to get food, and I'm absolutely driving the least amount possible in downtown Dallas. So I DoorDashed, and I walked outside, and I got so scared because I was staying in an Airbnb, and I don't know why they do this, but this building was owned by multiple different Airbnb companies.
That's what we did.
So I don't know which door to go through with this one card, okay? So I walk around and find the entrance that I drove in.
You're probably wondering what happened.
Well, we got too into it, and we're still going on. So please stay tuned for part 2.
Thanks. 2 thumbs up.
Oh,
Oh,
part 2 is going to be next week.
yes.
You gotta wait a week.
Yes.
So hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can stay tuned.
Yes. For those of you listening and not
And like
watching,
it.
there's a bonus little video clip at the end here for viewers, and it's hilarious. There's no audio, Till next but time, it guys. is
Lord
a
loves you.
great
So
video
do
clip.
I.
You Tune need to in. go watch it right now on YouTube, so Alright. hop on over there There we go. right now.